What's going on, guys? So, I kind of vaguely saw some of these clips, and then I actually sat down to watch them, and not a lot of things truly pissed me off. I'm going to be honest. A lot of the bad movies, or, when I talk shit about games, this and that, they don't personally really piss me off because, well, they don't really affect me as much. I'm not going to buy the game. I'm not going to watch the show. And, doing YouTube now, obviously I see comments where people do, in fact, get pissed off and take shit so serious. But this is something I don't understand, and I have to disagree with it, and I know a bunch of the Hasan slurpers are going to come at me and, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, whining and crying and pretending that this little boo-boo titty baby is going to actually make any type of sense by saying what he does is hard. And I literally mean, in all sense, I don't give a shit about him crying that his job is hard. The reason why I say this, he says, unless you worked in retail. Well, here, Hasan, I worked in retail for many years. I'd like to go ahead and say you're still completely wrong. To add insult to injury, when I worked there for many years, I was in my couch surfing time. When I didn't have an address, when I was living out of a van, living on couches, I still made time to go do things. I was still interactive with people. You can say that was probably just me. Fine, cool. Yeah, it was just me. But it does not make any sense. At the time, it still doesn't make sense to me now for back then. So I'm trying to juggle the idea that doing retail or doing streaming, doing YouTube, whatever you want to call it, is a social issue as far as draining you. I would go there for, my 8 to 10 hours. By that point, I was actually working full time. And then I would still go to bars or go hang out, go get a drink, go to public areas, go talk to people. I just think it's somebody that's weak-minded. I worked in a little office shop that sold supplies to actual corporations. We had brand deals that we had to sell off. We always had to try to make sure we looked proper. And we had to deal with some of the most uptight, asinine people. We had print jobs in the back that were within like thousands and thousands of dollars per job. Not $100,000 for whatever, but thousands of dollars. We had photo editing we had to do. I worked on computers, sold all sorts of printers, and pretty much everything from paper to, even like peanut butter pretzels. I also put together desks. I sold the desks. I pretty much did everything that wasn't a key holder, even though I should have been a key holder. Now, that's a whole personal issue behind that I don't need to get into, but I still have to say, are you going to say that somebody like me could vouch for you? Because I don't. I went and worked part-time at a retail store, the same one I left, that I worked at for 3 years. Years later, because I do not, and this is something I recommend to everybody if you're watching this, do not burn bridges. Unless it's just a job and you don't like it, I suggest if you can hold yourself to it, don't quit without doing like a 2 weeks notice. I understand the jobs are bad. A lot of higher ups are jackasses, and it's really hard to find a job that you can stay stable with. But this is my only advice I can give you. It's always best to leave on good terms because you never know if you need to go back. Unless you 100% know you don't want to go back or never will go back. But I always try to keep jobs I was pretty decent at. So if I ever need to go back, I can. Back to Hasan. Here's my issue. I literally went and worked at a furniture factory. I would work there for almost 10 to 12 hours a day. Furniture is not easy. You're throwing 200 to 250 pounds each, stacking them 3 high. Then your dolly is roughly 200 pounds. You're talking about 800 pounds easy that you're having to pull back and balance on a dolly and go into these, trailers, loading them up on. We were in what we called roll-off. And it's a defunct company now, but it was back at United Furniture. Now, you would run all these all through a warehouse, wherever you could. That was my job. And I became a team lead there. And I still had to touch all these boxes. They were super heavy. We had one fan, and on each dock, one big jug with ice and water. You had to fill it up every 2 hours, or you would literally pretty much die of heat stroke. Now, when I came from, retail, a buddy of mine that suggested the job for me because I just got tired of dealing with people. That is me personally. I don't like dealing with people. Doesn't mean I was drained. I just don't. I understand there's still problems in the retail work environment. There's still, you got to deal with terrible people and you got to bite your tongue a lot of the times. I'm not saying that you don't have difficulties in that job. But when I hear drained, it just bothers me because here's the thing. Retail is worse than what you do. Hasan, you sit at a desk all day, you've had a practically pampered life, and you're going to sit there and down people that work in retail? Retail workers have it 1,000 times worse than you. They have to deal with degenerates cussing in their face every day. You just have to stand there and ignore messages half the time. If it hurts your feelings, you can just click away. If they hurt your feelings in the middle of your job, you can have a mental breakdown right then and there. So anyway, like I was saying, I would go from doing that. I quit, had another job, had that for about a year, couldn't do it anymore. And then I went to the factory. Well, they decided to tell me, hey, you might be physically exhausted. This is different than working all your other jobs. So I would go stay at a buddy's house who was down the road from that place because I had to drive quite a good distance to work here. And what I would do, I would sleep at his house. I would actually, take Epsom salt bath. If you don't know what I'm talking about, hey, if you're a factory worker, you know what I mean. And it got so bad, I was literally filling up this tub with Epsom salt and had 2 Hot Pockets on a stool with a 6-pack of beer sitting on the floor. And I would do that and lay in that thing for a while. So to reference this, to me, the retail job was so easy. When I was running low on funds, I needed to pick up a second job. So what I did while working at a factory, I called my old boss. I said, hey, can I come work with you for roughly 6-8 months, maybe a year? He said, sure, we got a spot. It would be weekends only, and I would have to work 3 days out of the week after 5 o'clock. I talked with my boss. He gave me he gave me the offer of leaving at 5 o'clock just so I could keep the other job. So basically, I'd leave at 4:30, and I would leave straight from that plant straight to town, across, by the way. It was like 40-something minutes just to get over there and start my other job. And I would do that 3 days a week plus weekends. So dealing with people, dealing with that, doing back of house, doing closing, and then on top of that, working on computers again, while it was a part-time job, and I was still running roughly, say 40 hours a week out of it. Plus, I was working my 50, 60 hours a week at a factory. And you want to compare the two. I say, unfortunately, Asmongold is also kind of backing him up on this. And I do like Asmongold's, usual videos. He does say things a little out of the way or stuff I don't 100% agree with, but I'm not saying he's bad in any sense. But Hasan does not realize that he's speaking complete nonsense. Okay, if anybody out there in the workforce, now I still work an actual job. I don't do YouTube full time. I'm not a streamer. And this stuff comes from quite literally what I deal with every day. I still work in a factory. I still have to weld all day or grinding or dealing with heat. Some days are easy where I don't have to do anything, luckily. If we have no breakdowns, I don't have to worry about it. But then when we do, I could be spending the next 4.5, 5 hours swapping out with my teammate to get breaks just to make sure we can still work on stuff. But before that, for 6.5 years at the same job, I did the actual line. I built things. Now, here's the thing about it. I don't think people understand that backing up Hasan doesn't make any sense. In retail, you are mentally drained to a point because you cannot shut these people out. Like I said, when they're screaming at your face, you just have to take it. Or rather, you don't have to and you can quit, but then you're already working a low minimum wage job. So quitting, sometimes you may get that extra 50 cents. And if you quit and you go somewhere else, you got to start over and then you got all these other issues. You don't know if quitting can make it worse. You don't know if quitting can make it better. Now, sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Some people get stuck in a perpetual circle of hell trying to figure out what they want to do, especially if you're going from, retail store to retail store, Walmart to Best Buy to, and then some of these retail stores has been around for 20 years are starting to die out and you might lose your job. Hasan is out of touch with everything. He seems to be the most incompetent person at this point to be speaking on behalf of other workers. I've fairly kept up with people. I know people that are contractors. They got it pretty easy compared to the fact they know what they're doing, so it makes their job easier. And they like what they do. They like building with their hands. Are they physically exhausted? Yes. They get home. Sometimes they're mad. Sometimes they're happy. It just depends. And we just go about our day different day to day. So one day if he's having trouble and we're playing the game and he's like, man, I'm not feeling it today. I'm getting really pissed off. Let me try again tomorrow. I got you, bud. Have a good one. Gone. Hasan can literally quit. He is rich. He can stop and live the rest of their life not doing it. Nobody wants to be that miserable making money. I'm sorry. The only people that do is people trying to make it. He's not having to make it. And if he is, he's completely been horrible with his money, which just shows how just out of touch he really is to know if you got millions of dollars and you just keep complaining, it shows you're incompetent at everything. A lot of it is stemming from the fact that this is a guy who is just a millionaire. Made shit tons of money, also had a fairly decent upbringing. From everything I've seen, videos on him, all sorts of shit. He's had a pretty decent upbringing. He's had a good life to make it where he's at. Hasan, I'm not doubting the fact that you're doing good as far as streaming. I don't consider that a real job, but you're still making money on it. I respect the fact people make money on, YouTube and streaming and stuff like that. But to this degree, to compare the same thing, you're watching text. That's all you're doing. You're nitpicking out of these people, and you chose this. You could stop at any moment. You could just quit streaming and then live the rest of your life in a decent house, like a 4-bedroom house you could get for $250,000-ish. If you're lucky. I ain't gonna lie, house market with shit, and depending on where you live, it could be even worse. But if you're millions, if you're worth millions, if I was to be worth not even $1 million right now, I could literally go buy a house down the road, or I'll even take a double wide trailer, I don't care. Go put it on like 8 to 10 acres of land, cut off, be alone for the rest of my life, and go hunting, fishing, and whatever I want to do. And that's it. I would enjoy myself. But he doesn't want to take that option to go stay away from all of it. Wasn't it PewDiePie that took a break quite a few times? I don't get it. He could take breaks. He just doesn't want to because he feeds off of this. That's what it is. He wants to feed off of this, and he'll say anything he can to keep the clicks up. Now, fine. It's working. People are going to click on your name. People are going to give you negative and positive reinforcement right now. So you're going to win regardless, and you're going to get your views back up. Because if you ever notice, he's always constantly riding that line in between hate and like. And that's it. He's always going to keep that up. That's all I think this is. The only reason why I got under my skin is because I've worked these jobs, and to be able to do YouTube quite literally just for fun, and all he has to do is talk his shit 9 hours a day, as he wants to put it, fine, talk your shit. If you could do it in your pajamas, it's not a job. You have no reason to complain. Can it be exhausting? Yes. But for you to complain to that level and act like it's the same, it's not. And I hate to say it, Asmongold, the one guy who never leaves his house, he can only agree with him for the fact he just mentally doesn't want to deal with people. That's fine. Some people don't like going out. I get it. But if this right here is draining you, I'm sorry, but you're not fit for the real world. You say that you could leave here and go do a manual labor job. You could not do manual labor. You will not be able to do construction, which I will never do, because that will throw your back out. You best believe these construction workers are built for it since they were like 18, 19 years old. You cannot go climb poles and do electric. Okay, you can't work for a power company. I guarantee you wouldn't make it. You won't be able to build furniture, load furniture, build cars, load cars. You wouldn't be able to do, I don't even think you could do a forklift. And you want to talk down like your job is bad enough to be comparable? No, get out of here. You're wrong. You're completely in the wrong. I've never went on a tangent this hard where I probably won't have a whole lot of cuts. But that's about all I got to say. I won't have anything tagged because I don't have any clips from it, because I don't want any of these assholes trying to, tag my videos for like copyright strike, stuff like that. Because Hasan is we got that money, and I know he definitely would probably jump at the chance. I know that's me saying he would. I don't know if he would, but I still don't want to take the chance, because if he's willing to cry about, streaming, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody like him would try to copyright somebody to get a little extra money so he doesn't have to work just a little bit more. But yeah, that's all I got to say. Y'all have a good one.